Hello, everybody. Did you miss us? The answer would be yes. I'm answering for you because we missed another week. Now, before you get mad, I was off having a European adventure, so I feel like it was well-deserved. As well as the fact that, you know, distance makes the heart grow fonder, and we're all about that over here. Thoughts?
We're back. I'm so glad we're back. I met a lot of people over the weekend who talked to me about the pod and how much they like it.
I just want to say that she was with explicitly our target audience this weekend.
No, I met people your age who are listening.
You didn't tell me that.
Yes. Well, a few of the friends of our friends, the daughter's friends.
Listen?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
I'm shocked.
I know. That's exciting.
I guess
Woohoo,
we
we're
got
growing
some
our
listeners. Yeah, seriously. So if anybody wants to do, maybe we'll implement a new, what's it called? Segment category. I didn't know what to say. Maybe we'll implement a new category called Do a Mitzvah this week. And your mitzvah this week is to recommend the podcast to 3 other people. Because what the hell?
What's that called? Jewish marketing?
It's
like
a
do a mitzvah.
I mean,
marketing.
Literally, if you're not giving tzedakah, the second best thing you can do is
Not
refer.
everyone knows what that is.
Tzedakah is when you give charity to people who need it. And
basically,
guess what?
Ava's saying we're a charity
We're
case.
people
Tell
that fucking
people.
need it. Because listen to the
people.
podcast.
Tell people about Totally Unqualified. Okay.
So you've all been devastated, upset, missing us. We have just been reunited, Liney as well. The whole family is back in business. And so the podcast goes back to usual and I return to normal life. Anything to say before we dive in?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Do I look tan? Do you recognize me? I was told I look fancy today. Is it my new necklace?
She's wearing a necklace that looks like it's from 1960s. It's a dove with a...
Okay, it's an eagle. Pumpkin and I decided it's an eagle.
I think it's a dove, and it has a stone in the middle and a lot of turquoise around it. And to me, it screams, I bought this at an Arizona gift shop.
I bought this at a store in London that curates from reservations in Santa Fe and Arizona.
See, I knew it.
So you're close. But
I knew it.
It's not quite just buying in an Arizona gift shop.
I'm going to say, though, I particularly love Santa Fe and have seen some really beautiful artwork there, but
Trigger
that
warning.
might not be it.
I was supposed to go there with somebody, but...
To Santa Fe?
Oh, yeah. That was on the radar.
Really? Not sure that would be my pick if I were going on a couple's getaway as a young person.
I guess that is squashed.
I might have chosen like Austin, Texas.
Oh, you think I was one that chose it?
Really?
You think I chose it?
A little dull. I'm gonna
Wasn't
say
me.
dull.
Anyway, my new necklace is beautiful. It's for freedom and independence, and that's what I am doing right now.
Could I housekeep?
Fine.
Why do you always? It is
because I just never know what to expect. The housekeeping always turns into something else. It never is just housekeeping.
It's true.
To be honest with you, it's never just the thing. With your love and your hate, it's always the half love, the half hate, the half this, the half that. Housekeeping is the same. I never know what I'm in for.
Okay, I just have this housekeeping.
Oh, only one
announcement. I think we should not number the pods anymore. When I spoke to the podcast guru who was helping my company that I'm consulting for, and I took away a lot of his takeaways, he was explaining that lose the numbers. People don't need it in order, and they don't listen in order, which is evidenced by somebody, a friend of ours this weekend, who told me that she listened to the Bubby episode, and she's listened to many others.
Yeah, you can pick and choose. I do understand for why not ordering them. I get it. Personally, I like to order them for stupid purposes, but it makes it easier to edit. But I could do it without that. Beyond that, I just think it's interesting to see the progress from episode 1 until now. But I understand that can be done without numbers.
Because he's like, you know what? People just choose based on what sounds interesting to them.
So
and
then
he's like,
I'm
stop
gonna
numbering.
housekeep.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that there's somebody between the two of us who comes up with the names for the episodes. And I feel as though there are too many questions as titles.
Really?
Yes. You love a question as
I
a
do
title.
because I think it's engaging.
No. Sometimes I think you just need to, like, in your mind, deduce the catchiest part of the episode. It doesn't always have to be answering a question. I think that's also a little misleading.
I'd like to know if you really want to get into this right here, then I would like to know, since you're the data person, which episode has been the most listened to, which are the best numbers.
The first episode has the
I'd
best
like
numbers.
to see the data on all of them.
We can look at the data.
Because data on all of them I love data.
I think people choose by topic. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that that's the thing. I just think that, like, we're doing a lot of question marks, and I think we could be more of a statement.
I feel like I do try and mix it up, but I'll try harder. I'm going to roll right into my love and hate.
No, I'm not ready for that. You're just closing this chapter.
No, because I want to say my love this week. Okay, I'm going to just say my love is data. I love data. I think data is very helpful in marketing. It's very helpful in everything. It's helpful. You need to know as much as you possibly can to make informed decisions. And I would then know more about what resonates with people, possibly based on the descriptions I've written.
To be honest, though, I don't think that the data in this situation will really be helpful because as I look through the episodes, they're pretty much all questions. So we haven't really been able to see the other group.
Really?
Episode 25, what makes a good mom? Episode 24, feeling late to your own life? Episode 23, who's the boss? You are. Episode 22 is just gender role rethink. See? Episode 21, do I seem old to you? Episode 20, who am I? Episode 19, life skills, anyone?
Okay, I'm just going to say, I like the questions. I'd like to hear from people whether or not they like the episodes.
I like more of a statement personally because I don't think that we do have questions within the podcast, but I really think that, like, the things we say here is generally as... I think that the things that we say here are said in more of a statement, and I would like our titles to reflect that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Noted.
I'm
going to say maybe you're getting tongue-tied because you're a little jet-lagged.
Guys, I'm fucking exhausted. Usually, like, I'm really good at adjusting, and honestly, the fact that I haven't napped today is pretty amazing.
Well, you napped for like 19 hours yesterday.
I slept for 12 hours, but I was up at 6 a.m. So, I mean, like, it's kind of a long day for somebody who is jet-lagged.
I do not feel sorry for you.
Okay. I'm doing much better than I know anybody else could be doing.
Okay.
My love of this week is, if you didn't already know, I said it. I saw my European getaway, and I love the transportation in Amsterdam and London. First off, the tube was delayed. I put that in quotes. The whole time I was there for part of it, and it didn't even feel delayed, which means that it's even better when it's not delayed. They came on time. It was clean. I got a seat, except there was no AC, but because they keep the windows open, you do get a breeze. So it was a little bit hotter, but
how do you feel about those
not
velvet
as scary
seats on the District and Circle
line? I cannot talk about the velvet seats.
You can't sit on those velvet seats on the
District
District
and Circle line. Okay, but they do have, like,
tushy
tushy rests, like an area, like, by the entrance of the car.
Those, on the old ones?
Yeah, a lot of them have tushy rests.
Jubilee line? Did you ride that
Jubilee
one?
line,
the
of
Northern
course.
Line?
I was on the Northern line.
The Northern line. Northern line's good.
Anyway, so that was good. And then I loved the trams in Amsterdam. The biking is horrible. It is so scary. It's so hard to cross the street. Seriously, their bike lane is the same size, if not wider than the car lane. So it was really interesting navigating, crossing the street, and you have to use the crosswalks. Like, you can't jaywalk.
I think we've told this before, but
the Will story?
Yes.
I'll tell the Will story in a second. I was thinking about it all week. And I love the tram. The tram is amazing. Although it doesn't come as frequently as I would like, I just love it. I think New York should get a fucking tram.
Does it run all night?
Their transportation closes. And in London, which is why the tube is so safe, because they close it overnight so people can't live there.
In Boston, they close.
They should all close.
1, 2 a.m.?
They should all close and try to make buses or, like, whatever, make it more affordable. New mayor, you want a free bus. What about fixing up the subway? ? So let's say this. We have an iconic Amsterdam story. It's not ours to tell, but it was almost like we were there. So Will went to Amsterdam with his friends. after his senior year of high school.
After senior year of high school.
And Will
Rented a bike.
Oh, I was going to say something else. Will loves to think that he's the expert traveler due to the fact that he's rewatched every season of The Amazing Race multiple times. So Will thinks he's the traveler of the century. And I'm not going to lie, he's a great traveler, but I wouldn't say the traveler of the century. And so Will and his friend rent bikes to feel like locals in Amsterdam, which already to me feels questionable because they are so aggressive when they bike. It's really scary. Like, I'm a good bike rider, and I would never ride a bike there. Seriously,
I thought you
never.
rode a bike last time when you went to go see the tulips.
No. You think Natalie was going to ride a bike?
True.
Natalie can't ride a
Touche.
bike.
Natalie is not... Natalie, we love you, but maybe not the most coordinated
Not
person.
the most coordinated and has brittle bones. So Will is showing off.
You've outed Natalie's bones.
Oh, Natalie's bones have outed themselves.
I know, it's true.
She's broken every single
I know,
bone.
it's true.
Okay. So Will is like, was he showing off? What was
No.
it?
He was just crossing the street.
He was just crossing
I think
the
so.
street.
I think he was crossing the street.
Okay. I thought he might have been like showing off like, hey, I'm such a good biker, but
I don't think
rumor
so.
has it he was just crossing the street. And as I mentioned, they have trams there, so the tracks run in the street, and Will decided to stupidly go over one of the tram tracks, which then caused the front tire of his bike to get lodged in the track because it's like that thin line, so your bike wheel would fit in there perfectly. And he fell forward, his shorts got caught, and they ripped.
No, his pants. Yes, long pants.
He's wearing long pants? I thought he was wearing shorts.
I think he wore long pants and it ripped at the knee, whole area.
No, it didn't rip at the knee area.
No.
His
The butt?
boxers,
Oh,
his
the
boxers were out for
Oh,
everybody,
right,
and they
right,
were all
right.
laughing at him.
Oh.
So everybody was laughing at Will, all of the locals, because his pants ripped down the middle because he decided to be a little bit bold and go over the tram track. And ever since I heard that, I have not wanted to
I
bike
see
in
it,
Amsterdam.
a crumpled mess of Will with his bike next to him on the pavement in Amsterdam.
He said people laughed.
I'm sure they did.
Tushy out.
Stupid Americans?
Stupid American always.
Yeah, no, Will.
We live and we learn. That's why I did not bike in Amsterdam.
Okay, shall we move on?
So that was my love. Hate.
Yeah, my hate is a little, not, yeah, well, I always do that. Okay, I read the news today. I want to talk about this. I read about Mystic, Texas today, and I am so, it's not a hate, it's a sad. I am very sad about
There
the
could be
flooding.
a hate in there, though.
The hate is,
That we have a government that doesn't believe in climate change and didn't send out notifications in time.
or that we have a government that had known that some of the camps were at risk for something like this, and they chose not to do anything,
Yeah.
as per the front page of the New York Times today. So I am very sad to read about these little girls who are at this Christian summer camp. And how many girls were there? 750, and 30 girls died or are missing in Mystic, Texas. Other people have died too. 80 people have died because of the floods. And I just, it's really heartbreaking when you read it today. And you read about the heroism. New York Times told a story about a guy who is a emergency responder, and he's in his 20s and he's never been called before. And he got called this weekend, and he saved 163
Wow.
girls.
Wow.
Yeah, and he stayed on the ground with the girls to get them into helicopters and save
Wow.
them. It's really something. So very sad for that community. Hard.
Yes. Also, I feel like as we live in the Northeast, a lot of people go to sleepaway camp, and my friends and I were talking about this, but as a camp counselor, especially as I've been in the past, you prepare for every single incident. You train for an active shooter, if there's a fire, or even if somebody wakes up homesick in the middle of the night, but you never really think about a natural disaster being something that would impact you as well as your campers, and something that you'd have to shield them from. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like a weather disaster impacts everybody,
Right.
right? Like, did they know what to do? And I think some of these counselors were just heroic. At what
well,
they did.
I also think that they got flooded so quickly that they probably didn't even have time to really act.
Yep.
Yeah, devastating, heartbreaking, and I think really, especially as somebody who loves sleepaway camp so much, and it's the best place on earth, it's just so upsetting.
Yep.
To
Yep.
have that association.
I have to say,
now my hate looks like shit.
Okay, sorry, but there wasn't a sentence I read that I thought, oh, I don't think you'd read that in the Northeast, and it talked about how when the flooding was happening, parents and first responders and the community rallied to go try and find all these kids, and the modes of transportation were very different. I think. I mean, you expect like pickup truck, but then there's like helicopter, golf cart, horse, because it's Texas,
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really drones. Just people were sending up drones looking for the kids.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we are
upsetting.
thinking about that community and hope for the best for their
Yeah.
kids who are still missing.
So terrible. All right. Well, my hate is really small.
Superficial.
Yeah, I was going to say small potatoes. But I lost my bracelet when I was away. It was given to me by Bubby. I wanted to bring it up because I love the story that was associated with it. And even though I don't have the bracelet anymore, I would like the story to be said. So last year, which is what makes it sadder to me, because as we all know, Bubby died this past year. We were at the beach, and it was actually on the 4th of July, so it is timely. And Bubby was sitting in the living room wearing her bracelet, and she is not a woman that had a lot of jewelry, so I thought she's so fancy for wearing her little bracelet. I never see her wear that. And so I complimented her, and I said, Bubby, I love your bracelet. And she took it off and she gave it to me. And I haven't taken it off since. And when I was in London, it must have fallen off, I think, in my hotel, but they claim it's not there. So I really just wanted to tell this story and say that my bracelet is greatly missed. And while it's hard in those situations because you have such a strong memory attached to an item, you also have to remind yourself that is just a thing, and the memory is the most important part.
What would Bubby say? She would say, Ava,
I can buy a new bracelet.
pretty much, but not in that way. She would say, Ava, it's just stuff. It's not the important. The important things are the important things. A bracelet is just stuff.
Well, I still miss it, so that's my hate.
Yeah, I understand. I know you like that. You never took it off. But
I know, we're three
you
bracelets.
are wearing another bracelet that Bubby gave to me.
Yeah, but
And
I liked having
I
my
know
three
you like the other one.
bracelets. It was my favorite one. She gave it to me. So if you see a bracelet lying around London that's a mixed metal, silver and gold, circles and squares, could be mine, but I think it is in my hotel room.
In Kensington.
If anybody wants to go check.
Yeah, please do.
All right.
Okay.
Moving on to our segment, Things Heard in New York.
Is that what we call it?
I don't know. We still haven't come up with
No,
the
I
name.
did. I sent you a million names for it.
I know. I guess I don't know. We'll have us keep next time, but it's our New York segment.
Okay. So I didn't have something happen this week because I was really, I don't know, there was a lot going on. But I had something happen recently and was reminded of it. So I thought I would tell the story.
Please do.
Okay. I was walking home from the subway, and, we do have a lot of homeless people in New York City and people who are on the street asking for money and doing some panhandling and in our neighborhood. And so there was a guy who was always sitting right a block before our little market, and he was asking for food. And so he was like, can you buy me a sandwich? Can you buy me a sandwich? Can you buy me a sandwich? And he would always say that. And so I do, at some point, maybe we'll talk about this, like, do you give money, homeless people money? Do you not give money? I don't know. We've talked about maybe a little bit before. And so sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I know you should not, and you should just pick charities to donate to. But sometimes, you just feel so bad. So the guy was like, buy me lunch. And so I'm like, okay, I will.
Yeah.
right? And so he yelled to me, and a soda. I want Sprite. And I was like, fine, no problem, sir. I've got you. So I went in and did my grocery shopping, and I went and I got him a turkey sandwich, and I bought him a Sprite, and I kept it separate in a little bag with his accoutrements and his, napkin and condiments and blah, 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 and then got the rest of my groceries. And here I go, feeling good about myself, and I walk over to him, and I'm like, sir, here's your lunch. Here's your sandwich. And he said to me, what kind? And I said, turkey. And he said, I don't want it. I don't like turkey. Only in New York does the homeless person want to tell you exactly what sandwich they want.
Did he take it?
No. So I had to go back and exchange it.
No way.
I swear to God.
You exchanged it?
I did.
Oh my God, I
and
would
exchanged it.
never.
He wanted like a ham sandwich.
I would never. I mean, he likes what he likes, and I respect that he knows what he likes.
Me too. I felt like, good for you, sir. You're a New York City kind of guy.
Okay, well, I wasn't in New York, and so I don't have a New York story. I mean, I have plenty, but not one that I want to tell. But I was in London, as we know, and I do have a few questions that you might have the answer to.
Okay.
Do they have summer vacation? Because everyone was wearing uniforms.
Oh, in school?
Yeah, is school not over?
I don't know.
The kids were all wearing uniforms. If anybody knows the answer to these, please let me know.
They have summer vacation because I think
Well,
they
they were
follow Europe and they all take off the month of August.
Maybe
they only have off a month.
Maybe they were all still hanging out outside of school. They were all wearing their uniforms. They were all going on field trips still.
I can tell you that in France they're on summer vacation.
Well, in London it did not seem like it. Jamie and I were very confused.
On the
walking
European
around.
continent, they have summer vacation.
They must have some sort of summer, but
Was
everyone
it
was
all
wearing
kids or just like a summer program?
No, I'm telling you, like there were school kids wearing their uniforms, like going. We saw some on a field trip.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Okay.
Unless they make campers wear uniforms, but they were wearing like school uniforms.
No, I'm thinking maybe they only do a month because they do other months during the year. You know how in France they have an insane amount of vacation?
Yes.
Don't know.
All right. Second thing is we saw in the same vein of school children, we saw a lot of children in London with tennis rackets. As it is Wimbledon right now, I do understand that tennis is happening, but like, is there a larger cultural significance of tennis? Because it seems like everyone there plays. It seems like I would not fit in.
Was tennis discovered in England? I think.
Do you want me to look it up?
I think it's possible.
Everybody had a tennis racket. Oh, and then there were these two young boys who were probably in middle school, maybe freshmen in high school. They were so cute, and they were talking about how their friends were smart. And the way that they talked about it was so different from us. Like, it wasn't like, oh, where they're going to college or, that kind of stuff or where they want to go. They were talking about, like, I don't know if they're called their A-levels. I forget what they were called. But he's like, he got a 5 on his A-level. Yes. And I was like, oh, my God, so different. So cute. For us, it was just like A, B, C, So where was tennis discovered?
I don't know if it's discovered. You don't discover tennis. I think it's...
No, trace back to France.
Oh, look at that. I did not know.
That was in...
Why don't you ask it, why is tennis so popular in...
London. And then...
It could have been for Wimbledon, but maybe it's just that they really like tennis there.
And then my third question, which if anybody feels like answering, I've been having so much... How do I want to say this? I don't want to be rude. My body has seriously gone back into frosty mode because there's zero AC in London anywhere. They have no AC. I can't tell if they don't have the infrastructure for it.
It's the electricity.
The windows.
In Europe and London and Europe.
Amsterdam, there was more AC than there was in London.
And now there's actually AC in Spain, right? Remember when we went to Spain?
There was nothing in London. Dripping. Dripping. I threw away 3 shirts.
Remember how we had no dryer?
No
at
dryer.
The apartment when we were in London. It's because the electricity is very expensive.
Okay, it's popular because of Wimbledon, which has been held there since 1877.
Okay, there you go. That's why.
Okay, and that's my final question. What's going on with the AC? Seriously, I moved to London in 5 seconds, but I was dripping the whole time and I threw away 3 shirts.
I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Why is there so much hubbub, and I didn't read the article, on like who was sitting in the royal box at Wimbledon?
Mom, if you don't know the Harry and Meghan drama, then I don't know what to tell you. And
Why,
the
were they
William
there?
Kate, no, there's no way they were there.
So why did it care? No, but it was like which celebrities were sitting in the royal
Oh,
box?
it's probably like,
it was a big deal. Like who gets to sit there?
well, it's probably because like who's friends with like Will and Kate.
Is it though? I don't know. All right, I just was
Roger
wondering.
Federer sat in the royal box.
Oh, well, there you go. But he makes sense.
With a member of the royal family. Kate Middleton's parents were there
Okay.
and her sister.
Okay, well, that makes sense also. But then I thought like weird celebrities were in the royal box.
So, I see. Sports star refused entry at Wimbledon's royal box after breaking same strict rules as Pippa Middleton.
Oh. Okay.
I think they have
I
a
don't know.
strict dress code.
There did seem to be some sort of controversy or hubbub about the
Lewis
royal box.
Hamilton was denied entry in 2015.
Well, that's a long time ago. I think he's come a long way since then.
Yeah, it seems like he was there. I don't know.
By the way, I really like Lewis Hamilton. He didn't do so. He's not doing so great this year.
Pippa arrived late, so she wasn't allowed to enter, too. All right.
Okay. There you go.
They seem
Just
like
curious about
sticklers
Wimbledon.
all across
I've
the
always
pond.
wanted to go. I think it seems interesting.
Do you know how you go to Wimbledon?
Yeah, Gary told me
You
this
have
weekend.
to queue.
I
They
thought he told me it's lottery.
yes, well, they release tickets for the first 10,000 people every day that you have to apply for, and those come out in January. If you don't get one of those, you can go to Wimbledon, and it's a lottery.
Yeah, he told me lottery.
It's
'Cause
impossible to go.
That's what he said. He said the same thing this week.
So when you said to me, why don't you go to Wimbledon? It's because it was 100 degrees,
Well, I didn't
and
know
I didn't want
that's
to
how you
maybe
went.
go.
So then I asked our friend who loves tennis so much. He's told me that he wants to do the whole European circuit
Wow.
at some point and go to every match.
Well, our friend Lily went because when she was traveling after college, she became friends with a ball boy in Cambodia, and he got her 2 tickets.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
So
really
she just
cool.
went.
I always want to know. I want someone to write an article about the kids who do the ball, run after the balls.
I mean, we have a direct connection. We can get the ball boy on the
Please.
record.
Please do.
Next interview on the pod.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. Big topic of the week. Topic of the week brought to you by me. So I was thinking about this a lot as I was traveling because I went back to 2 places that I have been to before. And I had a different experience in both London and Amsterdam than I did the first time I went. So when I went to London, I was instantly obsessed with it. I've always loved London. I've always wanted to live there. And the first time I went to Amsterdam, I thought it was fine. Like it was neither here nor there, and it didn't stand out on my list. And then this time when I went back, I felt like London was just, it was exactly as I remembered it. It just, the feeling, the vibes were just so different. And I don't know if part of that was because, you know, we're American and it's kind of an unpopular time to be American right now. Is it the summer and it's really hot? I can't really pinpoint what it was, but the vibes just felt off and it just wasn't as I remembered it. And I just didn't love it as much as I did the first times that I went. And in Amsterdam, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing. I liked it more than London. The city was just so charming. Everybody was so kind. I really had an amazing time. So that led me to bring up this topic, which is when you experience things differently than you remember them. And this idea of kind of parting with the idea of something and the reality of it. I especially want to talk about this because I have a very well-traveled companion sitting next to me who's been to a lot of places, and I feel like has some insights into this topic.
I got a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
The first is, I'm interested in the anti-American thing. Were they rude to you or just the vibe was off?
I just feel like the vibe was off. Nobody was like rude to me like, you stupid American. But it definitely didn't feel super welcoming like it had in the past.
So I'm wondering if it's because their economy is not good at the minute, right? So maybe
That's
things...
everything was so expensive in both places. I'm broke with a capital B now.
Yeah, always. I mean, even when you were there, it was... I think
It's
New York,
worse.
I think New York is a fortune, and London was a third more. I could not get over how expensive it was.
Worse, seriously.
So I wonder if it's because things economically are not so good there right now, and that would make anybody... I mean,
Cranky,
here too,
yeah.
things are really expensive. I wonder about that. I was wondering if you felt it once you opened your mouth, or just no.
No, I felt it like consistently. I almost felt like in the past they were more excited to have Americans, and now they're like not. Like I felt like
Well, that could be, but I wonder if you're bringing bias to that, though, possibly.
I didn't feel the coldness that I felt this time the last time I was there.
That's very interesting. I think the question that you ask isn't just really about traveling.
No,
I think
it's
it's
not.
really about a lot of stuff, right? So when you brought it up to me, I was thinking about it, that when you have a really good time going somewhere, reading something, I had this with 2 books, my 2 favorite mystery authors, Daniel Silva and Louise Penny. They come out with a book, both of them, every year. I read it right away. And I have my 2 favorites by them, right? Each my favorite book. And not so long ago, I reread my favorite book by each of them, and I didn't like either of them anywhere near as much, right?
Yes, I felt that
Like
way
one was
too.
about the Vatican, and I loved it at the time, and the art theft, and it was amazing. And then I read it again, I was like, I don't know why I don't like it as much. And so I think it's also like relationships, right? You miss somebody, and then you go back and you're like, it's not the same. And so I wonder in life whether or not you don't revisit something because a good thing was a good thing is it situational and it's at the time? Like Eric's best friend, I will call him the best friend, Eric's best friend, Eric.
Eric's best friend Eric would be so delighted to hear you call
he would
him
be
your
mad
best friend.
because on his list of what he learned that he is not supposed to refer to Eric as best friend. So Eric's best friend Eric had the greatest time at the beach house, and now he wants to come back with his wife. I'm now scared that they're not going to have as good of a time.
See, that I think is different.
You do?
Because the beach house is such a controlled environment.
No, what if the same mix of people isn't there? What if it's not as spontaneous?
Right.
Like,
I think it will be a different experience. I think that what you're dreading is a difference in experiences, where for me, I felt like my experience in both, I wasn't going in being like, oh, I'm going to have, I think you think people are going to have the same, are expecting the same experience every time.
I do.
I don't think that. I wasn't expecting the same experience. I was expecting, which is why I feel comfortable saying I didn't like it as much. It wasn't that the experience was worse, because all of the activities that I did, I loved. Jamie and I walked around. We went to all the places we want to go. I loved physically everything I did. I really liked a lot of the restaurants we went to. The things that we did, I enjoyed. The vibe was different. And in a place like Hull, the vibe is consistent, even though things are different. So like, I wasn't expecting to have the exact same experience. If anything, I think I did things that were way more fun and things that I would like to do more than when I was abroad, because I felt so rushed the last time I was there. But I just felt like there was this intangible, like, different feeling, and I think that's really what I wanted to capture, which I think Eric knows that he enjoyed the feeling of being at the beach, and so he wants to get that feeling again regardless of who the audience
won't.
is.
I guess my point is, I hear what you're saying, but you went into London really loving London, right? When you went the first time, you don't know what to expect from a place.
I loved it the first time because I went when I was younger.
No, I know. Oh, right. When
I always have been obsessed with London. I've had a London obsession my entire life.
I forgot.
Yeah, I'm British.
So
I'm British, babe.
To me, it's whether or not there's an expectation there once you've already been to a place,
Right.
right? Like we've talked about this. How come we never go back to the same place twice when we go on vacation?
Yes.
Right? I believe there's so many places in the world that you just want to see as much as you possibly can. But we know lots of people who always go back to the same place, right? Because they love it there. What's not to like? It's great.
We
it's
actually
fun.
had that for the first time this year. We have
Yes.
never wanted to go back somewhere as a family, and we all want to go back to Beckwith.
That's true.
So I also think that there's a flip to that as well. We usually don't want to go back to
Yes.
places, but to discover something that you really like is also super exciting.
But here's what I'm going to say. We all went to Beckwith because we were super burned out and Bubby had just died and like there was a lot going on. I wonder if when you go back in a different mindset, if we're going to like it as much. That's my point, that you move along in your life. And so maybe the same thing doesn't hit you the same way because you're in a different place.
All right, then let me bring this to the table. A lot of people that I know, and this could be its whole own episode, and it's unfortunate that this is coming up this week because there's been so much sadness around it, but a lot of people I know have not had closure with sleepaway camp. And the
Yes.
reason that they feel like they haven't had closure is because there was never a time that we didn't want to go. Right? Every single summer was always different.
Yes, very exciting.
Every single summer was always so exciting. Some summers were better than others, but it never took away from the fact that anyone that I would talk to would go back to sleepaway camp in a heartbeat.
And so now what? So now they're just like missing it, even though you guys
I
are
have
in your
friends that
20s?
can't talk about it.
Really? Because
Yeah.
they cry?
They get emotional. They feel like they haven't had closure because
Wow.
sleepaway camp is the type of thing that like you only age out of it numbers wise. You don't age out of it internally.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I could go for 8 weeks and be with my best friends without phones for that time, I would do it in 5 seconds. Like it's
Right.
something that you don't actually grow out of. The only thing is that you age out of it. So you never really say goodbye. Your goodbye is that you're too old. Your
That's
goodbye
it.
is that everybody has to get a real
I think
job.
that's really interesting. Yeah, is a goodbye? This is a very interesting question. We actually are dealing with this at my job right now, that someone's leaving and they want to bring in another person to take over, and they want to bring in someone who was with the company and then no longer, and they're going to invite the person back.
Yes.
And you know what? Can you go back?
Yes.
Right? And I'm like, I don't know.
At my old company, there were a few people who left and came back, and I do think yes. However, a job I think is different than a relationship, and I don't know if I would say the same thing about a relationship.
I will say.
In
I
my
mean,
mind,
I'm saying no, but then I'm like, well, Dad and I broke up and we got back together. But you know what? It wasn't. I think a lot of times with relationships, when you idealize a relationship, and then if a lot of time goes by and you go back to it, you expect it to be what it was. And I think almost every time it's not. Almost every time
right,
it's
and
not.
I think that's different. Whether or not you should go back is its own question, but I think with a job it's different because the growth that can happen professionally and knowing what you want in a professional sense. I think a lot of times, like, if you don't like your job or you're unhappy, you might have to go somewhere else and be unhappier. In a relationship, I don't necessarily feel that way because I feel like if it's supposed to be the person for you, then like it should work and you should want to make it work regardless of what there is to sacrifice. Whereas in a job, I think truly to have another work experience to compare it is something different. However, people would disagree with the whole relationship thing.
I know.
I just like, in my mind, like, as somebody who is going through this, I think that like if it was supposed to work, it would have.
Well, I just think that time gives perspective on everything. So I'm wondering if the relationship is like London, right? It's like you were there at a particular moment and felt a particular way about it. And now you've changed, right? Because time's gone on. So there is some growth and change in you. And so now you look at the place a little differently.
Yeah.
Maybe the expectation is different. The way you feel is different. What you are hoping for is different. And I think it's the same as a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like you go back and you're like, wow, that annoying habit didn't bother me before, and now that person's doing something
Right.
and it's like pissing me off.
Right. But I think a job is kind of exempt from that because
I
I
could see
think that
that,
there is a
yes.
way in which you can grow your mindset related to your career, related to your strengths, related to your interests. Like, I think a job actually, in a lot of ways, if I had the hindsight now to go back to certain jobs, I
Right.
think I would have taken advantage of different things. I think I would have liked different things about different jobs. And I'm only seeing that because now I am happy in my job and I do know what I'm good at. And so, like, let's say I left my company now, which I would never do. But let's say I did, and then I worked somewhere else and I hated it and I realized it wasn't what I wanted, whatever. Like, I would go back in a heartbeat if they would have me back
Right.
because I would have realized that, this job really met my strengths and weaknesses and I loved my coworkers and whatever the case might be. I think that hindsight is actually valuable. Also
In a job.
in a job, in your interests, in working out, in like lifestyle choices. I think sometimes you need a break from something or you need a change in order to realize what you need. In things like a partnership, in things like travel, in things like friendships, I think I'm a believer that if you wanted to work, you would make it work. And if you needed to sacrifice something, you would.
Do I think you can go back? I think relationships are very hard to go back to. I think you're right about work because think about when you were young and you didn't have any job experience. So your expectation of a job was it was going to be like Mecca. And then you realize that a job is a job, right? And so you have to find pieces that you really like. It's not the overall thing.
I mean, I like my job overall, but yes.
But
right. It took me a while to get there.
And so maybe you weren't appreciative of the things that were positive in the other jobs because you didn't have enough knowledge, right? And so maybe, but I'm thinking about with travel and not liking a place as much. I just feel like when you have really great memories of something, it is very hard to go back and recreate, so I would rather move on.
Right.
And just keep the memory.
But I wasn't going with the expectation that I would be remaking the same memories. It was more so like I really loved this place, and so I wanted to go to it again. And it just like the vibe was different.
And maybe you just liked it differently. It sounded
Right.
like you had a great time there. It just wasn't exactly.
But then you go to Amsterdam, and I really didn't like it the first time, and then I loved it.
But your expectation was so low for
Right,
Amsterdam,
right.
The expectation was totally different. Like when we went to Spain, I don't love Spain, and I didn't love it the first time. I knew when we were going to see Will, it wasn't going to be my favorite.
And we all
vacation.
felt okay about it.
But we had a really good time.
Yeah.
It was still exactly the same.
Yeah.
But it did reiterate to me that I am a person who does not like to go back. I like to go forward. I think maybe that's something good to know about yourself.
Yeah.
That you would prefer to not try and relive. Like, I don't want to relive my past. I want to keep going into my future.
I guess this is also a question like you guys can pipe in because I'm looking at you. Oracle, we taught you how to pipe in, so you can.
Yeah. Did we already go over the fact that the Oracle said 100% your fan looks like a vibrator?
Yes.
Okay, the Oracle weighed in, and we listened to the Oracle, and she
but
agreed
the
with
Oracle
me.
didn't know how to speak pipe, so I don't know where we stand with her.
No, but now she knows how to speak pipe because Oracle, we
So
taught you how to do it.
you should be calling in next week.
Oracle, call in, please.
I am interested to hear if you guys have any evidence to the contrary, because I know that there are couples that break up and get back together and live happy lives together. I'm just not one who believes that.
Wait, I'm not sure why you're asking the Oracle this. The
I'm
Oracle's
not
been
asking.
happily married
no.
1,000 years.
I'm not asking the
Oracle, if you've been married 1,000 years, it feels like they've been married since college. You've been 1,000 years married.
No. I'm not asking the Oracle in particular. I just shouted her out because we had to explain the speak pipe because of
yes,
her.
we did.
So
yes,
this is
Oracle.
more of a
Oh, I see. She's shaming the Oracle.
I'm shaming the Oracle because she didn't know how to speak pipe, and now I'm saying if you know how to use the speak pipe, which you all should, please let me know. But I am one that really I've been very back and forth on this, but I really do believe in relationships and in friendships that if it's meaningful enough to you, you make it work. And you don't stop, you don't pause, you don't revisit. Like if it's the right person, if it's the right friendship, if it's the right relationship, like it can be made right. And to take that time apart and to have that dissonance, I think means that it's not right for you.
Yeah.
And I think people would
agree
disagree with that. I think
I
people
would?
no, I'm not saying
No.
you, but I think that there are couples that say we broke up for 10 years and then we found each other again and we got married and
There
we
are
love each
couples
other.
someone just told me about a couple that did that. And
I can't reconcile that, because if you love somebody so much, like, shouldn't you just be together? Like, you know, if you're supposed to be friends, wouldn't you just be friends?
I think sometimes there's friends are different. I believe that if friends are important to you, you got to make space and time in your life for your friends, period. There's nothing else to say about it. Friends are, to me, the most important thing in my life, aside from my kids and my husband. And my dog, who is like my kid. And by the way, at the beach house this weekend, I think everyone thought I had an unhealthy relationship with my dog.
Who brought it up?
Gary, because I was bringing him everywhere.
Brings
Gary
him
was like, just leave him home. We're going out for breakfast. I don't want to leave him at all. Anyway, okay. But I did talk to another beach friend, Lisa, who she has a Yorkie. And I said to her, Lisa, I'm going home and leaving the beach because the dog's been alone for a while. And she's like, oh my gosh, Ellen, me too. She said she can't leave her dog either. And it's like an obsession with her.
I mean, you're obsessed.
So it made me feel, she is too. So Lisa, I'm so glad you and your Yorkie, me too.
No, she's obsessed.
Okay. Anyway, about friends, I believe that life is busy and we have to prioritize our friendships because connection is everything and it makes you very happy, right? To connect keeps you young and engaged and interested and makes you happy. And so you shouldn't take your friendships for granted. And I know it gets hard because life gets really crazy, but you should really value your friendships. Relationships, I feel a little different about because Dad and I broke up and then we got back together because we saw that maybe.
But how long were you really broken up for?
Not that long,
right.
like a month.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long. So I mostly agree with you that if you think it's right, you should be able to make it work. But I do think time gives distance and a differing opinion of things. I think you just have to be willing when you walk away to know from anything, to know that going back is going to be different.
Yeah. I really have never felt this way in my entire life, and it almost makes me feel religious because I feel like this is a belief that a lot of religious people hold so deeply, and I don't hold this belief deeply, but with relationships and with choices in my life, I do believe that we control our own destiny, and I don't want to negate that. But more and more, I have found myself believing this idea of if something was meant for you, it will be. And I'm not saying that we all have to be passive because I don't believe that. And that's where I think I part from more people who are deeply religious and believe that there's a higher power working. But I do feel if something is meant to be in your life and you put in the effort for it to be there, and then it will. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, but you're saying it requires effort. And I think that's the piece that that's the piece. Assuming that if something's meant to be, it will be, doesn't mean you're sitting waiting around.
Right.
Right?
That's why I'm saying
that you're going about living your life and you're doing stuff you are. Is it manifesting?
But I used to never believe that word. I used to not believe that at all. I used to think you are
all free will.
You are, yeah, you're the master of your own fate, and you need to do things to make things happen for yourself. And I equally believe that. But I also think that just if something is meant for you and you believe it's meant for you, then it will be.
Well, I think there is an intangible in life, right? There's a circumstance.
Yeah.
Right? It's timing and circumstance. You are where you are, that somebody is where they are.
Which is why London is great sometimes.
The intangible
Yeah.
meets the tangible, right? You're working on yourself and you're trying to manifest something and you're going about your business and hoping and whatever it is. And maybe the intangible is, or the circumstances, what other people might call fate, potentially,
Yeah.
right? It's just meant to happen, it will happen. I am a believer in that also. I do believe that.
Which is why when you have a different experience and like, you know, I'm not saying that it's not meant to be. I'm just more so like to have both sides of a coin is interesting and not expected, I think, because you usually expect consistency.
Yes.
That if I like this place, I'll like it again and I'll like it the next time. I liked him as my boyfriend and I'll like him tomorrow as my boyfriend, and I will always like him.
Always
And that,
the case.
yeah, so to re-experience, I think is, you know, jarring.
Well, I know this is like being much longer than we thought, but, you know, then I think about someone like Will, who Will really loves new experiences, and he's sort of this junkie for feeling the adrenaline rush of the new. Like, he loves new, which is why he loves to travel so much, right? He likes to go somewhere new, figure it out, be on his own. He's a kid who likes to race against time and all these crazy things, right? And so I'm not saying he doesn't appreciate going back to places, but I think of him as being somebody who wants to keep going, right? And who doesn't want to revisit. There is something really, though, calming and tethering about revisiting, right? For all my talk about roaming all over the world, I go back to the same summer place that I've gone to since I was 2 years old, right? Like, there's something about being rooted to a community and your friends and the people who've known you all your life. And so I think it depends what it is, but whether you can go back or not and what the expectation is. And maybe when you go back, it just shows you another side of something, right? Like, you got this other side of London or of Amsterdam that you didn't get before, and that maybe in total makes it a more rich experience for you, possibly, maybe.
Yeah.
So there's no real answer to this. Like, are you a person who likes to keep going, or are you a person who wants to stay tethered?
So if you want to let us know, you know where to contact us on the Speak Pipe, or follow us at Totally Unqualified Podcast, Instagram, TikTok. You can email us, do what you want, but please interact and do the mitzvah of the week and recommend us to 3 of your friends. Anything to say before we go?
Yeah, I'm really thinking about, can you go back? You know how people say you can never go back? I don't
Travel
know.
back down that road.
I don't know if you can. I was like,
It was
what
only
sign is
just
that?
a dream.
Oh no.
Thank you so much for listening to our 26th episode, but now we don't use numbers, so whatever episode number it is.
Yep, and we'll be back next week.
And no question in the title. Statements only.
Statements only. And if you have a question, send it our way. We'll answer it next week. We will. Bye, everybody. Have a good one. Happy
Bye.
post July 4th.